Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues. My name's Anthony. I'm an addict and an alcoholic, another bozo on the bus, and I care about it.
Yes, and I'm LouiLou. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm recovering from crystal meth and alcohol, and I'm always in search of balance. And each week we strive to foster a brave space where we can engage in conversations centered around topics of recovery.
And our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people in recovery by tackling issues sometimes used to separate us.
Yes, but before we do that, please like, share, and comment, and rate this episode.
And
ding that bell.
Ding that bell.
Yeah.
It feels like awfully loud. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. We forgot how to adjust the volume, or maybe I forgot how to adjust the volume.
Just grabbing stuff.
You know how it goes. And now the disclaimer: the thoughts and opinions expressed on At the CCC are ours alone. We do not represent anyone but ourselves. In other words, we're just a couple of friends behind a mic here to entertain you. And of course, everything we talk about is for general information purposes.
Absolutely.
Only. We did it.
How y'all doing? How you doing?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm good. But okay. I'm really tired. I'm like running on 5 hours of sleep today.
No, I bet. For those of you, you probably missed us. I mean, it's been a few weeks since you've heard from us, but we're having growing pains. But
wait a minute. Has it been a few weeks since something's been uploaded?
It will be by the time this is uploaded.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
You hear that, Brandon?
No, this has nothing to do with Brandon.
Is it us?
It's us.
Oh, it's me.
It's us.
It's us. Okay.
It's us. The last thing, it's like, it was pretty funny.
Guys, let me tell you, okay, let's tell people what goes on with the podcast. So Louis and I, we both have full-time jobs.
Absolutely.
We have very busy lives, but we absolutely love the podcast.
I know.
And so we have to.
So healing.
It's so healing. It's like we forget that we're being recorded sometimes, and
except that we're wearing headphones and, we have a damn mic in our face.
And so, and it's not a paid gig. We volunteer our time. And so we have to find ways of like scheduling the time to record.
Absolutely.
And that could be difficult. It's kind of like if you have friends, if you're an adult and you try to make plans with your friends, it's really difficult.
Absolutely, but we're going to figure it out.
Because we're going to figure it out.
Yeah,
we're going to figure it out.
We are going to figure it out, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be marvelous.
Yeah, and like before we even jump in, I think Louis and I both want to just say thank you. We got like some new numbers in about the podcast, and we continue to grow significantly.
Yeah, we got our 10,000 download.
But that's just on Buzzsprout, which is really interesting. Exactly. Just on Buzzsprout. Like when we take into account like our other social medias, we're well over 30,000.
That's
like,
amazing.
Views and listens and stuff like that. And excuse me, I didn't mean to burp into the throwback.
Yes, you did.
Throwback. And we have listenership all over the country, over 600 cities in the United States and 27 different countries. So shout out to everyone who listens.
Absolutely. Shout out to you and tell a friend. I actually was at work today and I had a guy who manages the bookstore near my job. And he's like, yeah, so I want to listen to your podcast. It's like, tell me the name. It's like,
you know what, Louis?
Yeah.
If you want to do us a solid, the podcast, put the podcast on your apps, on your Hookup apps. Do you know there was a time I actually had the link to the podcast on my Grindr profile.
You do?
It was a long time ago. A long time ago before I got Grindr again recently. Grindr doesn't sponsor us.
No.
But if you guys want to give us money, we might take it.
Wow. Hello. money.
Yeah, we might take it. We want to continue to grow. So how are you, Louis?
I'm good. I'm really good, actually. I'm just, honestly, it's just been really kind of working on my character defect of control. And it's been great. It's like I have been turning it over, and I feel so much free. I feel so much freer. Yeah. It's nice. It's nice to actually be in the action phase of making changes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like movement, momentum. There's like,
exactly.
It's good feelings. So talking about apps.
I know.
Talking about apps. Today's topic.
I know. We're going to have fun with it.
And we are. Absolutely. It's called the impact of hookup apps and doom scrolling on early recovery. But you know what? Not just early recovery, just recovery in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Especially now.
Absolutely. Especially now.
And, oh, God.
Wait, why are you saying especially now?
No, especially, it's so apropos. It's like I pull up my phone and I'm like, you remember we were talking like right after the election? It's like I could not
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you open up whatever apps, whatever social media, and you've got all this misinformation, all that good stuff. It's like, yeah, it can really kind of do a number on your soul.
100%.
Yeah.
So there's research that shows that there's a positive correlation between the use of social media and low self-esteem. Right. I think that when it comes to like hookup apps in particular, there's a way that like a lot of harm gets done on the apps, either because there's something directly happening, right? Like, so the nature of a conversation, or what is it like to like be blocked or ignored or left on red, or to have people flake.
And we're talking specifically about like
different apps. Yeah. Hookup apps. We're talking about hookup apps.
Well, you know, what's interesting. It's like, okay, so when I first started using the apps, it's like, I was thinking, oh great, I'm going to have conversations with people and be thoughtful. Cause I want to be nice. Cause I don't want to be, you know, I know how rejection feels and it stings or whatever, and I don't want to be that person or whatever. And so the more experience that I've had with the apps, the more I understand that sometimes it's almost like when a horse breaks their leg and you shoot it.
What do you mean?
No, it's like sometimes it's better to, like, if you know this conversation not going anywhere, to just block the person.
That's right.
That's what they suggest on Sniffies. If you're not interested, just block me, just clear. Or if you don't want to see somebody on the grid, like, you know, you look when we're out at these conferences and you open up your Grinder and the
Everyone
first 12 is everybody
there.
you know. You better go ahead and block them so you have some more space, especially if you're not paying for it. And you're not paying for it, you're going to be like, what?
Yeah. So I think you and I are, well, for today's episode, we're talking about specifically like apps that are used for sex, to hook up.
For hookups.
Right. So to hook up. So that's the first thing that I wanted to clear up, just in case people are like wondering, like, what kind of apps are they talking about?
Yeah, because,
you know exactly what kind of apps we're talking about.
We can focus on the hookup apps, but there are the hookup apps. There's the so-called dating apps and what have you. But I think it would be very, very nice to focus in on the hookups.
100%. So I want to give some kind of like science research background around like the mechanics of the way different I think you meant the spooky one.
Exactly.
So folks might find that when they're apps that it can be pretty addictive, and that is by design. And the reason why that is because there's a idea. It's called a variable reward schedules, right? Variable reward schedules. So it's a lot like gambling, right? When you gamble, you don't know what the outcome is, but occasionally you're going to hit, right? And when you hit, there's like you got a dopamine surge. It's very similar to what happens on hookup apps. You're essentially gambling. You're like talking to people. Occasionally you'll get a hit. Maybe you'll get a like or a tap or something like that, right? And so we get these dopaminergic surges that, did you know this, Louis, mimics what happens when we're in active addiction. Right. So it's a very similar thing with substance addiction. And then you add to all of this that then there's the psychological stuff that happens, right? Like maybe you like the attention, but if you have an addictive personality, 1 is too many and 1,000 isn't enough, right?
Exactly.
Right. And so you can get stuck in this like chasing for that high. And the other part of that too is that, and before you know it, you're on there for hours.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. What's been happening is I don't spend hours and hours, but I do spend time on there. And what's interesting is, like, I was joking with a friend, but it's like, I have nights when I'll sign on anyway, and I'm not interested really. Like, I don't want to host and I don't want to travel. Yeah. But I'm on there anyway for that same thing. Like, and it messes up when I'm actually really interested, because if you've created this idea that you're someone who just flakes, not that I flake, but that I'm not really kind of wishy-washy, because I can imagine some.
Yeah.
I've had some, well, there are some guys on there that they're like ready now.
Yeah.
So like ready now. And then when you don't respond the way they want to, they'll shut you down, they'll block you, they'll whatever. Yeah. Or the worst is when you're ready and all of a sudden you get somebody send you a message and then you send it back and no response for a couple days. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. And we're talking about that system. Yeah. The variable reward system. Right?
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And there are other things that happen for a lot of people too, because so sometimes like sex gets paired with with substances like chemsex
with a nice red wine.
Yeah. But there's like a pairing of like sex with using, right?
Yeah.
So that tends to be the case for a lot of like meth addicts, for example.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely have to sort through a lot of bullshit. And I think that when I was using, there's language. It's updated, but there's language that you can look for. You can tell what people are up to.
Yeah.
If you just pay attention.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, there's I am very clear. I don't talk to blank profiles.
No.
Especially not when I've got pictures. I tell you exactly what's going on, and you ask me what are you into. I'm all, that means you haven't looked at my profile. You just looked at the picture of my ding dong, and that's not going to work for me. Also, I have to really be in tune with my sexual idea when I do this, because otherwise I will get bamboozled.
Yeah. Yeah. And this going back to like something I said a little earlier about like positive correlation between like app use or social media use and like low self-esteem, with respect to hookup apps, especially among LGBT folks, there's an increase in symptoms of depression, anxiety, and loneliness. And in some case, you can also have like feelings of shame or like internalized stigma. Yeah. Right. Because maybe it's like an HIV status, or maybe there's like racist stuff that goes on there. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, if you want to know whether or not you're comfortable with who you are, sign on to these apps and play that game, because it's like, I mean, at times I've had to question myself and think, you know what, am I feeling some sort of way because I'm thinking that I'm not desirable? I talked about this. Yeah. Because like there's stuff underneath that I haven't like addressed about my black self and all that stuff. And I always, in my mind, I want to believe that I am not listening to the voices that support the negative kind of talk in my mind, but we're human.
We are human. Yeah. And, what I was just thinking of is how part of what happens on apps can reinforce like avoidant or anxious attachment styles. Like there's been like a lot of conversation, like books like Attached, or people who are like, like you can hear about a lot of that kind of stuff on TikTok. I am not co-signing a lot of the stuff that's been said on TikTok, but suffice it to say that there's enough like public awareness around like attachment styles, for example. Yeah. And there's a way that hookup apps can actually like reinforce those attachment styles, like avoidant or like detached, right? And then if someone is like trying to like work through that stuff, or they're avoidant or anxious, their avoidant attachment is contributing to like unhealthy behaviors, there's a way that like that can be recreated on the app, right? And by extension of that, then you also have people who may have like an anxious attachment, right? And just so for some background, like folks who have an anxious attachment are folks who are like in need of like reassurance and connection, and it's characterized by like a person who has an anxious attachment. When like the object of their affection is like pulling away, they become anxious, and then they pursue and pursue and pursue and pursue. Oh
my God, there's a guy, like I'm telling you, it's like I think he just closes his he closes his account and opens. He's hit me up like 5,000 times, and hey, how's it going? And it's the same picture, and I'm like thinking, and every time I block him, I'm always like, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. And like the other part of that, like the blocking, right? Like there's a way too that like that app behaviors then can also inform like our waking life, like our reality.
I want to block a lot of people.
Well, yeah. Well, there's
block.
I forget the paper, but there was research that showed that one of the effects that apps has had on the way that people interact with each other is that when you're on an app, so say if you're like swiping, so there's like 3 types of apps. There's like see and swipe, algorithm, and then there's a combination of the two. So like an algorithm would be like your OkCupid, where you answer a bunch of questions. And see and swipe would be like your Tinder.
Oh my God, I still haven't finished the questions for OkCupid.
There's so many. Yeah. But so you have all of these different apps, and like the way that they function. And I forgot where I was going with all of that.
No.
What was I saying? Well, I was
you were talking the different types of
apps. How they impact like human behavior. So when you're on an app, for example, and you're seeing and swiping, so you are essentially conditioning yourself to see, evaluate, yes or no, right? And that is kind of what we do in real life a little bit, but there's a way that we are training ourselves to see and judge, see and judge, see and judge. And so there's a way that gets carried off into real life where you might look at someone and rather than experience that person, right, you may be like just quickly making a judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's one way that they impact human behavior. The other way is like when there's like an algorithm. So if there's like something that says like, oh, you're 98% compatible, for example, you are more likely to have certain expectations about when you interact with them, right? The takeaway, I think the thing that I'm trying to drive home is that apps, especially hookup apps, given all of the different mechanics that I've talked about, they will impact the way you think. They will impact the way you feel, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So for me, like I'm on them, but it's really entertainment. I always like, it's very rare that I hook up with somebody on the apps that I meet first time on the apps. Usually it's a relationship that I already have, someone that I've already connected with, and we connect, say, hey, how's it going, or whatever. It's almost like I don't try new food when I'm hungry. I just don't. I'm not doing that because that's
he'll let you down.
No, exactly. I go for good old whatever. Yeah, you know, I go for what I'm used to, what I'm good with, and so. I've talked about before, I like the sex clubs. I like going to the sex club because it's a progressive, old-fashioned way of kind of flirting and meeting people. But the apps, like, again, it's like, I think that I'm still affected by what you were saying or whatever because lately, like, honestly, it's like, it's just been one of those things where it's been driving me absolute crazy because, like, I'll sign on and I know you have this, I sign on and someone that I've connected with before will automatically assume that just because I'm signed on, I'm looking to hook up, or that there's this one guy in particular, I'll sign on and I see him and then I sign off real quick, but I'll still get a message from him. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, and it's mainly because I realized, and I think I've shared this. It's like I think we reached a point and I don't feel like I want to pour anything else into this because maybe it's misleading. Maybe I don't know what it is, but it's not.
Doesn't feel good.
Yeah,
it doesn't align with like the experiences that you want. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's like I feel like I don't want to say empty, but it's kind of like that.
Yeah. So I have to tell you something that I heard at a SLAW meeting today. Actually, I've been going to SLAW meetings in the morning.
Do you do online?
Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. Okay. I do online.
Okay.
There are many more SLAW meetings online than in person. So one of the things I heard at a meeting today was God is my hookup app, meaning that like if I'm going to hook up with someone, it's going to happen kind of like in this natural way, right? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is like alternative to apps, right? I'm not saying, well, I do think in early recovery, it's a little risky, especially if there's like,
absolutely.
And just given all of the other things that like, you know, a person is processing when they're first getting sober, like they might have like pause, for example, like post acute withdrawal syndrome. And so their mood might be all over the place, right? And so it's kind of like, especially if you're in early recovery, the last thing you want to do is like step into a bar. The last thing you want to do is step into an environment that's going to like compromise your like mental health or your sanity, or your peace of mind, right? And
it's a Viper's Den. It's like,
oh, of course. And it's, you know, we can't really go to an app for love and affection.
No,
right?
Not at all. Not to say that.
Yeah, not to say it can't happen
there. It's no. That you have. I feel like.
But it is like going to the desert looking for water.
No, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
You might find it.
You might find it.
You might find it. So there was the God thing. So I told my SLAW sponsor, like, hey, I'm back on the apps. And one of the things he said to me, so like he wasn't shaming, for example, like wanting to hook up or wanting to meet people. What my SLAW sponsor was suggesting was that if I'm going to be on apps, that I go onto apps that delay communication. So he was like, why don't you go on like a Hinge or a Tinder where like there's more of a delay and it isn't as quick. Which I thought was a really interesting suggestion, right? Which is like, he's not shaming the sex, but what he is saying is like, okay, let's be mindful of the way like addiction works and let's find alternatives to that. I also like what you were suggesting about like going to bathhouses or like what you referred to as like old fashioned ways of
it's old fashioned progressive, because it's like at least when we look around, we know we've got this whatever connection, because what I used to find when I was in my active addiction is that even if we flirted and everything seemed magical while we were online, we're both showing what we want because we're trying to get something.
That's
and then
right.
It is not until we meet each other at that threshold that we decide. That's why towards the end, and this what blew me away, even though I don't think I was really in complete control. I had rules like about not traveling too far or not having the other person travel too far, and being okay with if we meet, it doesn't work, not setting myself up for it,
Yeah.
And then also something else too, if we started to do what we were doing and it wasn't working, stopping.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
Louis, we are on the same wavelength, and by no surprise.
Yeah.
Because what I was thinking about is like, one of the gifts of recovery is that we start to develop a sharper sense of what is happening in our bodies. So, for example, knowing whether or not like something feels good, like, do I like this interaction? Right. And at first, I think that stuff can get really complicated. Like, you might feel confusion, you might feel shame, you might feel guilt. Right. But you get to pay attention to those experiences, and you can make decisions based on those experiences. You can take those experiences and you can take them to a meeting, you can take them to a sponsor. Right. Like, that's an opportunity to kind of approach sex.
Absolutely.
In a much more sober way.
And this is, I've been talking to like we've talked before, I've been talking to my sponsees about it, because I feel like, my higher power has really been challenging me to look at relationships, all different types or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been showing up or manifesting by it. My sponsees have been experiencing this and coming to me and talking about it. And so it's like, oh yeah, you got a funny sense of humor. You're trying to get me to work on some stuff.
Yeah. So that's the other thing about the working on stuff. So one of the things that I really like that my sponsor was telling me about is like, when you're part of what I think as an addict and an alcoholic, a person needs is clarity. So yeah, you can be on the apps, but let's be very clear about what that means. You're not like, if you're going to go on the apps, being very clear about like, I'm going on here, not because I'm looking for validation, but because I want to hook up, or I'm going on here knowing that it's not always going to be smooth and the communication is right. So going into something like with very clear boundaries. So similar to that would be in SLA, we also have like dating plans. Like when you're dating, like what does that look like? How many dates before you have sex? How many, right? And
I feel like everybody should have.
Yeah, 100%. But the takeaway here is like getting very clear. Like, if you're going to be engaging in these things, being very clear about what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Because if you go on an app and you aren't very clear about it, you might be looking for love. You might be looking.
Stand for something or you will fall for everything.
That's right. Tell them, Louis.
Absolutely.
Take it to church. I wish we had like a tambourine.
I know, exactly.
We need that sound. Oh, no, that's not that one. Yeah.
It's a drum.
We haven't used that one in a while.
I know, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think Louis and I are not saying like, hey, you shouldn't be on the apps. We're just saying like, just be aware of what you're doing.
I know. It's like, well, if you're in 12-step recovery, or even if you aren't, we have page 69, ironically is 69. It talks about not being the arbiter of anyone's sex conduct. But I talk about somebody has to be the arbiter of your sex conduct or your sex behavior or your practices. And so maybe it should be you. And so getting as honest as you can with you about what you're doing. Because, I mean, it's like you get to determine what's good and what's not good for you. Like, as far as what I think about what Anthony does and what he thinks about, like, it's really none of my business. It's like, and vice versa. But the idea is that we want to have the conversation, because if we don't have the conversation, kind of like, if you're not able to negotiate, how you put yourself in situations that just, leave a bad taste in your mouth.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I have to tell you a little sidebar. I have a friend who recently offered me $60 for, what does that mean? $60 for to have sex with me. Well, no, to perform a sexual act on me. And I said to this friend, this is a crazy proposition, number one. Number two, I'm not that broke.
I know. I'm not that broke.
I'm not that broke. But also, I was like, this is so, like, this would be incredibly irresponsible. I don't know what you're thinking. Something? I don't know what it was, but I was like really surprised by, like, has anyone ever, well, a friend has never, like, propositioned me in that way.
Have you guys known each other for a while?
We've known each other for a few years, yeah.
So that was...
Isn't that odd?
Well, it's odd. It's like it wasn't... they didn't feel like they could just say, hey, let's do this.
Yeah. His thing was, I wanted to feel transactional. And I was like, I was like, flattered maybe, but also
that's messy.
I know. That's what I was like, flattered maybe, but also like, no.
That's messy because that's that, like him saying, I want that to feel transactional. What do you think of me? Like maybe you should find somebody who is down for that, because there's a lot of people. This new thing, they put generous on. Right. You'll find somebody. If you want to pay for it, you can, trust me. And there ain't nothing wrong with it. If that's your money, you decide how you... Yeah,
make your money, girl. I'm not even...
And you decide where you want to spend your money. But it's like, I'm all...
Yeah.
So would you say, hell no? Or let me get back to you.
No.
Let me get back to you after...
I said absolutely not. That's just like not something I'm into, period. But also, like, what are you even thinking right now?
Has it altered, like, your relationship?
No. No, because I wrote it off as, like, you're being crazy right now. One of the things like that I rely on, I think, in all my relationships is that, like, life on life's terms. And by that, I mean, with respect to your relationships, like, yeah, like sometimes relationships can feel like messy and awkward and uncomfortable.
But that's really messy.
It is really messy. And I told him it was really messy. My question is,
would you have,
I didn't want to shame him.
Would you have entertained it if it
not at all. Oh, okay. Not at all. Not at all. It's just like not something I'm into, you know.
No, I mean, not entertain the payment, like getting money, but
I like hooking up with him. No, not at all. Not at all.
It's like you reach that, you get to a certain point, and
I'm just like
forced. It's
like, girl, stop. So there's this other thing. To talking about like love addiction. I don't even know if it's love addiction. So wait. Okay, yeah. Guys, so Louis and I have decided that we want to make episodes more like bite size, so that, like, you know, maybe you don't want to maybe you don't have the time to listen to like an hour-long podcast or 45 minutes. So we're going to try doing a different type of thing where we do like 30-minute like episodes. And if you want to hear the second part, you can hear the second part.
Exactly.
So he was just giving me a look because he's like, oh, Anthony.
I know we're
hitting that.
We both like produce each other.
Yeah, we do produce each other.
Yeah.
Actually, why don't we just like land this plane?
Yes, let's land this plane.
And if you want to hear the second part of this episode, you can hear the second part of this episode.
Exactly.
You just have to, you have to click on the, what is it? What's the thing? Click on the
reminder.
The reminder. You just click on the next episode. You could. I'm looking for the script and I can't find it. Why do we do this?
I know, exactly.
Every single time.
We should absolutely point it out. But the Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people and a refuge for the LGBTQ recovery community.
And for the LGBT recovery community, we provide programs and services that help change lives by supporting personal growth.
Yes, and our intention is
Our vision
is to reduce the suffering. We're rewriting it. Reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support.
And support. You hear that, guys? Support. You know what I'm doing when I repeat a word like that? I'm giving myself time to find where we are.
It would have worked if you hadn't said anything.
Well, I have to. I just feel like we're being dishonest if you don't tell people what's happening.
No, that's not.
Well, you know what, Louis? You can have your experience and I can have mine.
Media is dishonest, period. It's like, come on.
You can find more information, including all the ways to contact us, at www.castrocountryclub.org/podcast. And of course,
catch new episodes every Monday.
Or Tuesday.
Well, it'll be Monday because Brandon's amazing. Brandon, you're a rock star.
I almost opened up your text messages on impulse. Anyway, we love you. We'll see you soon. Bye.